All right, I'd like to call the Planning Commission of June 9th, 2025 to order. It is 4:34. I'll note at this time we have a quorum of 5 members. If you want to go. Oh, okay. Yeah, can I get a first up approval minutes from last meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Lampy for the minutes to be approved,
I'll second.
second by Byer. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next, sorry, I guess I went out of order there. I guess site plan committee, site plan minutes for May 19th, 2025.
I will move to approve.
Okay, motion by Lampy,
Second.
second by Levi. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I want to welcome Mr. Tom Levi to the Planning Commission for his first meeting. Next, under business.
Mayor Stocks, I'll make a motion to amend the business agenda to move item J above item A.
Okay, so move J to the top spot. Second by Levi. Any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, item J, review and take action, Edgefield subdivision sidewalk.
All right, I'll give a little background on this. The applicant, Loose Homes, is requesting that the Plan Commission consider to allow sidewalk on one side of all streets within the proposed Edgefield subdivision, which is a new residential development. City standards and past implementation of the sidewalk ordinance have required sidewalk on both sides of local streets in recent developments to promote pedestrian connectivity and accommodate future growth. The city code reference is chapter 545-37 B, which states the subdivider shall be required to install sidewalks on both sides of all major streets and arterial streets, and those local streets where access needs to be obtained to and from uses such as, but not limited to, business establishments, schools, churches, neighborhood parks, shopping districts, restaurants, and high-density multifamily residential developments. Cul-de-sac streets need not have sidewalk except where access is necessary to and from uses such as, but not limited to, business establishments, schools, churches, neighborhood parks, shopping districts, restaurants, and high-density multifamily residential developments. The applicant has stated that because the subdivision is composed entirely of local streets, so no arterial or really major streets within the subdivision, and it's not in proximity to the listed land uses, that sidewalk on one side is sufficient. Hep Heights was referenced as precedent for this approach. Recent subdivisions, which include the Rock River Ridge Phase 1 subdivision and the proposed Belinsky Homes Enclave subdivision, have both followed the standard of sidewalks on both sides. Staff analysis and recommendations. So 545-37 does provide some flexibility. The staff recommends requiring sidewalks on both sides of all streets in the Edgefield subdivision. Staff interpretation of the intent of the ordinance is not only to serve existing adjacent land uses, but also to ensure long-term pedestrian access and network connectivity as our city grows. There are some considerations in the packet. I won't go through each bullet point, but just to touch high level on these considerations. 1, planned growth and connectivity, pedestrian safety, consistency with city planning and form, and future cost avoidance. The recommendation here is to approve the Edgefield subdivision with condition that sidewalks be installed on both sides of all proposed local streets, consistent with past implementation of the city's sidewalk code. Next steps on this one, whatever decision the Plan Commission makes this evening will be baked into a development agreement to provide some clarity going forward with this development.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rooney, why don't you come on up? Want to add anything? Okay.
Good afternoon. I appreciate your time. My name is David Werning. I'm with Graymar, the developer. We develop exclusively for Loose Homes, and we consider ourselves a partner to this community. We've been in this community. I asked Greg when he built his first home in Watertown. He said it was 1999 or 2000. I think since then we built over 150 homes. So this isn't a one done and we're out of here. We want to be a partner to the community. What we're asking you to consider is sidewalks on one side of the main streets. Like was done in Hep Heights, which is a subdivision, the adjacent subdivision to the north. There are sidewalks on one side of the street. The cul-de-sac in Hep Heights does not have any sidewalks. We've heard that Watertown needs affordable housing. And that's, we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to accomplish that without any financial help from the city, no tax incremental financing. And there's a recent report released by Jefferson County about affordable housing. And the cost of new homes in Jefferson County is priced higher than what the average income of a Jefferson County resident can afford. And we're trying to get that closer because our concerns are for the citizens of this community that need housing. Sidewalks add a significant cost to the cost of the development, and asking the developer to put those in on the front end only passes that cost on to the end consumer, which limits the number of people that can afford that housing, makes that affordable housing less affordable for people looking. I searched the city's website. It has a comprehensive plan. I think it was done in 2019. That's what I found on there. I don't know if that's the most recent one, but section 6 speaks to thoughtful integration of parks, natural areas, and gathering spaces. That section also talks to a goal to preserve and enhance Watertown's unique features that contribute to its small town character. It goes on to list a policy that states to incorporate design elements and proposed new structures for compatibility with existing structures. Hep Heights is next door. It has sidewalks on one side, not in the cul-de-sacs. The next nearest sidewalk to the development is over a mile away, which is about halfway to Pick and Save. It's the only business that has sidewalks anywhere near there. And that's going into town. This development's on the southmost part of town. I'm confident that sidewalks on one side of the street will provide the continuity through this subdivision for pedestrians. The 3 streets that this subdivision exits to, either through Hep Heights or out Perry Way and out to Milford Street, there's no sidewalks there currently. So this would simply provide access to the adjacent subdivision, which is Hep Heights, that has one sidewalk. There's concern about getting sidewalk continuity to the park. We're donating a park. The only park near that will have sidewalk is the land that we're donating as part of the Edgefield development, which happens to be in Hep Heights. There is one sidewalk leading to it through Hep Heights. The plan that we had established for the Edgefield subdivision allows for one sidewalk from Edgefield on both streets that connect to Hep Heights to connect to that current one sidewalk that's in Hep Heights. So we kindly ask you to consider keeping that small town feel. I think it provides access for the pedestrians. There's 55 lots in this subdivision. The south and the west boundary of the subdivision are the city's boundaries currently. So the only people leaving there are the people that live there. And there are two substreets leaving the development for future development. 3. I'm sorry, no, 2. There's two substreets that will leave for future development.
Okay, thank you,
With
Mr.
that,
Warning.
Appreciate your
Does
consideration.
anybody have any questions to ask Mr. Warren before he steps down? Mr. Levi?
It's true, is it not, that if you don't put the sidewalks in now, it would be the landowner's responsibility later on to do that at their cost, is that right?
Should the city, I think, should the city want sidewalks on the opposite side? Andrew, I don't want to speak for the city.
No, past practice has been that at the time of home construction, the sidewalks are put in as part of that home construction, not generally by the developer up front. Um, with the home construction and heavy equipment going in and out of the lot, the damage to the sidewalk might require some rework after the home is complete. So we generally wait until the driveway's poured, at which time the sidewalk is poured at the same time.
So it's not passed on to the landowner? Or it always is?
Generally, my understanding is it's borne by the builder, the owner at the time of the build.
We are asking for one sidewalk on one side of the street to be allowed in this subdivision. I
Right.
believe the city can, per their ordinance, I'm speculating, come back and add a sidewalk later and special assess the homeowner. But essentially, the property owner, but essentially that's what's happening. We put them on both sides now. That affordable housing just got $2,000 more expensive when we're trying to save costs and tie to the continuity that's already established in that area.
If sidewalks are asked to put in later on, then they're assessed to the owner as well too, but yeah, in this case it'd be cost whatever the house is, it go up however many thousands of dollars for that house at this time.
I live in a subdivision in the city of Watertown that has sidewalks. Some parts have it on both sides that go to nowhere. Some have it on one side, some don't have it at all. I think what he's saying, if the city wanted to put sidewalks in to connect those two to one, the landowner would be special assessed at that time.
I guess the second question I had was, with children using the sidewalk, like on bicycles. If we have it only on one side of the street, they would be crossing the street and maybe into traffic. And with the sidewalks on both sides, they would be able to cross at the intersection and then down the other side and loop around or whatever, but they would be able to have a hard surface to pedal their bikes on or with their parents or going for a walk or baby strollers, whatever. And that would mean people who are living on the side without sidewalks would be walking in the street or pushing
Correct.
the.
However, at every intersection, you would have to cross a street, even with sidewalks on both sides. So there is crossing streets. This subdivision consists of basically one loop. Currently where sidewalks are
Oh, okay.
proposed.
Yeah,
And the subdivision, this is Hep Heights, and this is where it'll connect to the one sidewalk
the one sidewalk.
in the adjacent subdivision. This is the southmost,
Right, this is right off Milford.
this is
Street.
Milford Street
Right,
here.
yeah.
So this is Hep Heights, and then Perry Way Johnson goes
There it
over
is.
here. Yes.
Okay. Okay, and here and there. You would want to just put them on the one side,
Where I have highlighted in yellow is what we proposing.
but not going out here, is this?
This would go out to Milford Street, which
Okay.
currently doesn't have a sidewalk, so it stopped short
Okay.
until that was it.
Thank you.
I asked Andrew to put a shot up on the screen so everybody can see, but yeah. Hep Heights currently is it, the way the subdivision, are the sidewalks in the interior part or exterior? I haven't walked it for a little bit.
Hep Heights on the westernmost side. It's much like this. Maybe bring up the
Okay.
aerial. I think it's on the inside of the loop.
Yeah, this is mine. Did you log in? Presenter, sorry. Mr. Becker, still on my laptop.
While we're waiting for that map to come up, what is the approximate cost if you have it? If not, that's fine as well, but the approximate cost. of the
Sidewalk on
sidewalk.
both sides of the street and development, should I have complete frontage of lots, are about $2,000 to $2,200 per lot. It adds in cost.
So I have a couple of thoughts, if I could also share while we're waiting.
Okay.
We get asked at this body all the time to deviate from city standards. And I feel like if I had been seated here when the Hep Heights subdivision was approved, I would have fought to uphold the city standard. So it wasn't upheld there. We're moving forward with Edgefield, and maybe it's not going to be upheld here. And then there'll probably be another subdivision that's going to follow Edgefield because that's really our projected growth area for the city. And we'd have another subdivision developer coming forward making the case that it also should not be upheld there. So we'd have a whole lot of single-family residential development in the city not adhering to the city standard. And I think that sets a really poor precedent. As someone who has raised children, I get really frustrated anywhere I go in the city where there have not been sidewalks on both sides of the street. So I would be an advocate for, even though I know it would be additional expense and I'm sympathetic to that, but I'm not comfortable deviating from this particular important city standard in this case.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Lampy.
So,
Does anybody else have a question for Mr.? Yeah, Mr.
well,
Blanky?
I have comments about that. So the way our city standard is written is ambiguous at best because these roads are clearly local streets. I don't think any argument can be made that these are arterials, collectors, anything of the sort. But then within our own ordinance, we give ourselves the out of, well, unless it's going to connect to a major area at some time in the future, if we think it might happen, we never quite can be sure. That's ridiculous. That's basically saying that all streets need to have sidewalks on both sides. If that's the standard that we want, let's make that clear in our ordinance and say sidewalks are required on both sides of the street, period. No deviation. That's not what it says. These are local streets. I've lived in the current neighborhood I live in has no sidewalks at all, which, you know, we have several areas in the city that are like that. The district I represented years ago was 9th District. I live on Randolph Street. If you want to have fun, take a walk down that street and see the rhyme or reason of sidewalk there, where you'll go literally 2 houses have sidewalk on one side of the street. Then you'll go 2 houses where there's no sidewalk, then a house where it's on the other side, then a full block. So I understand the need to have a standard set by the city. But in this case, where we already have a neighborhood immediately adjacent where we've established that the standard is to put it on one side, and the fact that our city code gives us such a loophole to basically always do a sidewalk on both sides, I think this is a case where deviating from the standard is reasonable and logical due to past precedent.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Blanky. Mr. Warning, does anybody have a question for Mr. Warning? Otherwise, it'd be,
So I have one more question.
yes.
So if there's not sidewalk on both sides of the streets in the existing Hep Heights neighborhood, depending on what side of the street it could end up on, if it's not on both sides in this new Edgefield development, would any existing Hep Heights homeowners have to install sidewalk in their existing properties where any of those streets are stubbed to connect to new sidewalk in Edgefield?
We will connect to the existing sidewalks in Hep Heights. Should sidewalks be required on both sides, you're going to have a sidewalk on one side of our subdivision that stops. Essentially, it's gonna look like it's stopping in somebody's yard, city right away. I live in the subdivision. It used to be Willow Creek Meadows. Our Brookstone, it's all tied together. I used to run a lot. I walk more as I get older. I walk in the road, I run in the road because there's no continuity from one sidewalk to the other. What we're proposing, there's continuity from our development to this new development.
Right, so what I'm asking though is, depending on what is decided, if there has to be a connection made to existing property in Hep Heights, would those property owners all of a sudden find themselves with an assessment to have to install sidewalk to connect to Edgefield?
Not, I think that's the city's,
Okay.
the city's answer. I think, and that's kind of what I thought through today before I came and talked to you. And I didn't want to come in argumentative, but I wonder how many people would be willing to pay for sidewalks in front of their house who don't have them. I have sidewalks in front of my house. I'd be glad to give the 100 feet of solar sidewalk to somebody else to shovel. But would somebody be willing to pay for sidewalk in front of their home? Because that's essentially what we're asking these future citizens to pay for now.
I
So,
get that.
Mr. Barry, if you want to use your mouse, because it looks like the sidewalks are an interior part. So they're on the north side of Casey Drive, if that's correct, where those cars are.
Correct. And then the west side of Linda Lane and the west side of Ryan Ridge here.
So to answer Mrs. Lampy's question, I guess that 901 Casey Drive would potentially have to put a sidewalk in. But I think if that 815 Casey Drive, like the sidewalk, if Mr. Warren's got to put it underneath 815 Casey Drive, then that sidewalk would just end, right? That would go on both sides and go nowhere. That's correct.
stop at the property line, essentially. Correct, Andrew?
Yes, unless there's an appetite to assess and connect with some of the existing lots in the Hep Heights 1 and 2 subdivisions.
So if we put sidewalks on both sides, on the more of the south end, then we would have to special assess some of those houses so those sidewalks just don't end in the middle of nowhere. Correct?
Correct.
Like that sidewalk would end at 815 Casey Drive right there and would go just turn to grass unless we special assess them. And probably the other side too, if you could bring on the other side too, Mr. Byer. So that's sidewalk, is that sidewalk right there at 812 Linda Lane? Yeah, but then if you did the 917 Casey Drive, is that right? It would stop and go nowhere, would stop right there. If we assess both sides.
Looking at that map, it looks like, so 917 Casey, should there be a future sidewalk put in there? It looks like there's an entire row of what I would guess are arborvitaes
So
that are directly in the city's right of way where the sidewalk would go.
So you're suggesting you want to special assess and rip all those trees out?
No, I'm not suggesting that at all. My suggestion is if we choose to go with the standard, there is a strong likelihood that that standard would then would need to be applied to the past development. And just looking at that, there's some issues with that past development.
Yeah. Those houses have been there for a while. Mr. Byer, could you put the other side in again?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at if we connect that sidewalk, well, it looks like the 901 Casey Drive, it looks like is that sidewalk there on the east side of it? Is that sidewalk? 901 Casey Drive, sorry, Andrew. Right, that one, is that sidewalk there?
Believe so.
Because if we connect that one, then the other side has all the trees there. So if you were to go on the outside instead, doing 815 Casey Drive. So if you 850 there, say Mr. Byer, you're doing pretty good. So we put sidewalk on that and be along the southern part. Can you flip it over to the other house as well? Then it would connect to the sidewalk that's there on the west side, well, the one at 812 Linda Lane.
Do we have any precedent set where a new development would pay for that assessment to connect a sidewalk instead of putting it on existing homeowners? And like, okay, so I'm just asking, and the answer is probably no, but I'm just gonna ask. So in the situation where there's two property owners in the Hep Heights neighborhood, which could be impacted, has there ever been a time where a developer has said they will fund that extension for their development?
So typically, if you're a special assessed, landowner pays for a sidewalk and curb and gutter the first time, yeah. There have been times that the city does pay for sidewalk if it's like, 1 yard that we gotta put put it in to make this connect, that would be something that's happened in the past, yes.
Because while I still feel like we should have sidewalks on both sides of the street, I'm not looking to, cause a financial burden to existing homeowners.
Yeah. It looks like to avoid, as Mr. Blanky pointed out there, it looks like if it's on the if we put sidewalks on the outside, so like on the Linda Lane side there, so connect along the bottom of the subdivision. Can you move it over again, Mr. Byer, again? It would go through 815 Casey Drive. That would leave the sidewalk on 901 Casey Drive to go nowhere, but it looks like it's designed that one of the houses has on the outside part of this, have sidewalks on the outside part, and this house has the design to go on the inside part of future development. Yeah.
Currently, what design was to, this is, there's crosswalk and then
This is your development here.
this is Hep Heights, this is,
This is one of all the trees, right?
yes, correct.
So they connect over here. Okay.
So
You want to-
there's a ramp, and then.
Okay, to avoid that house. And then nobody be special assessed on either then. Okay, you want to show Mr. Blanky that? I'm not sure if you've seen that. Do you both see that? Their plans? I think. Mr. Leo, Mrs. Lampy, can you see that yet?
No?
You need-
We don't see, this is, to give you a reference, this is the home with all the trees along it.
Oh, the trees on.
So this would connect here, this is our development. Here, across the cul-de-sac. Also here, this goes out to Highway or Milford Street,
Mhm.
and then connect to the sidewalk over here.
But that's only if sidewalks are on one side of your development.
Okay.
That's only if sidewalks are on one
If
side.
sidewalks are on one side. Otherwise, this sidewalk will connect to nothing, as will.
Over there. Over there. Oh, but if it's been overturned, it creates situations like you're in, like, I don't have to.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Warning. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Blanky.
I'd like to make a motion to allow for the developer to have the deviation from sidewalks on both sides and go forward with the plan to have sidewalk on only one side of the street in the Edgefield subdivision.
Okay, we have a motion to go with the developer's plan. Mr. Blanky, the one that planned just,
Yes.
okay. We have a motion. Okay, I'll second to get in discussion then. I'll make a second. Any discussion on it?
So again, I think that Watertown in the past has had a reputation of being difficult to deal with developers and put up roadblocks. I mean, we all know that this reputation exists. But one of the things that I think we need to do is find a way to say yes. And we've had numerous groups come before the council and this body telling us we need affordable housing. And then We hear that, we agree with that, and we push for that. And then when we have a developer that's willing to work with us, asking for one concession, we're going to say no, which is going to push the costs up. I think, again, it makes sense. It fits in with what is adjacent to this development. And again, as I said, the ordinance is written in a way where really every street in the city of Watertown, with the way our ordinance is written, should have sidewalk on both sides. So I think it makes sense to allow for some deviation from the ordinance here.
Okay, anybody else? Mr. Levi?
That's the problem though, with having something where you waive it. You create the situation like we have here on the HEP subdivision. They don't have sidewalks mandatory. And on the lake edge, they're gonna be just the single, or the double sidewalks all the way around. That does make it difficult to sometimes hook up with areas that are not covered. And all we can do then is the city can assess people and require them to put the sidewalks in. But that's going to create some degree of opposition that maybe the council is not ready for. But I think at this point in time, because there are these deviations, it creates a real dilemma between, as we're experiencing right now, with having to deal with this cost, which should be borne by one of the parties, and one of the builder is willing to do that, but recognizes that affordable housing issue is one that would then be put in second position. So we should perhaps either adopt an ordinance or change the ordinance so that it is mandatory or not mandatory, as the case may be. But I'm going to vote for assessing the developer, because we do have a rather chaotic situation here with how our policy differs over the past couple of years. We should straighten that out first, I think.
So sorry, Ms. Lampe, go ahead.
Does this vote end here, or does it go to city council for final decision?
So the decision here would go into the development agreement, which would go to our finance committee, and then that is approved at the council level. So the details of the sidewalk being on one versus two sides would go into the DA, finance committee, and then common council.
And so we're talking about affordable housing. I've heard that come up a couple of times. Could you tell me what the estimated base price will be for the twin homes in this development?
Our goal are the mid to upper 300s.
Okay, so who says that's affordable housing to begin with? Seriously. I mean, it's not affordable housing in the city of Watertown.
Mrs. Lampe, I don't think this is the place I would be happy to sit down with anybody in the planning commission and talk about how that equates to affordable housing. But it does open the door for somebody to move up from a house that has a family.
It does, and I know how that works. I know.
Or it opens up their home for somebody else. There's a lot of detail that I'd be more than happy to
And
share.
I understand how that works. I'm just hearing people at this table say that the implementation of adding sidewalks to both sides could affect these homes of being quote unquote affordable housing. And I don't want people to think that we're talking about homes that are $200,000 or less. That's all.
But new construction, affordable housing, I believe they are affordable. And that's what we do, we're a home builder.
Sure.
Thank you. Any more discussion?
Can I bring up one more point?
Sure, Mr. Rooney.
Stormwater runoff has been a topic of discussion in this project. Adding sidewalks to both sides is like adding 10 driveways to this subdivision of impervious surface. which water is going to run off of. There are benefits to not having sidewalks and pervious surfaces that slow and absorb stormwater runoff. So adding sidewalks adds to stormwater runoff, which needs to be managed, maintained, and controlled. That's flowing into essentially the river and the city's stormwater system. So that's something to consider as well when you're considering talking about adding sidewalks on both sides of the street.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Warning. I'm kind of looking at the sidewalks. They're not there in Hep subdivision myself too, but. Any more discussion on it? Okay, I'll take a roll then. So voting on to the builder's one side sidewalk, the the diagram they showed us. Blanky,
Aye.
I'll vote yes. Levi?
This is a vote on,
So it was first and seconded to go with the one side sidewalk, the image that the builder had shown you before. I seconded it. Yeah, to get some discussion on it, yeah.
I would vote, no.
Okay, Lampy?
No,
Abstain.
Okay, well, it's 2-2, which then means it doesn't pass.
That's correct.
So then, I guess what was it before? Was it planned for two-sided? So it stays two-sided right now?
That's my understanding.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Warning. Thank you. Okay, that's it. We'll move on to top 10 A. Okay, next we'll open up a public hearing for 411 College Avenue. Request for a conditional use permit for an accessory dwelling unit under section 550-25C and section 550-56AA. Would anybody wish to speak on a public hearing at this time? If you had signed the sheet, you just read out your address, your name, and
Sure.
you have up to 3 minutes, sir.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect. So I appreciate all the time by the commission and mayor. My name is Marcus Spiegelberg. I'm here with my wife, Jessica Spiegelberg. We own the property at 411 College Avenue. And we are here just to ask permission to build a dwelling unit above the garage in the back. Simply put.
okay. All right, thank you, sir.
Yep.
You had signed the sheet before?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else from that first public hearing at 411 College Avenue? Okay, I'll then close that public hearing. And I'll go to B, review and take action at 411 College Avenue, request for conditional use permit for an accessory dwelling unit under section 550-25C and section 550-56AA. Okay, go ahead.
All right. The applicant is seeking approval of the CUP for a detached accessory dwelling unit or ADU in the single family residential or SR4 zoning district. The ADU will be located above a proposed new garage and will replace the existing garage on the property. The proposed garage ADU will not exceed the height of the existing house on the property. The ADU will have 2 bedrooms and be approximately 990 square feet in area with an entrance and stairs located inside the garage. A second floor deck will be located on the south side of the structure. A fence is also proposed for the south property line. The staff evaluation for this item with applicable code sections is contained in your packet. And Plan Commission options include denying the CUP based on failure to provide substantial evidence to meet one or more of the regulatory standards. 2, approve the CUP without conditions based on successfully providing substantial evidence of regulatory compliance. Or 3, approve the CUP with conditions as identified by the Plan Commission. The staff recommendation for this item is to approve the CUP.
This is Lampy.
is there another example anywhere in the city where this exists? Where people are building residential dwelling units above garages?
I'm sure there are, but I don't know of any offhand. I can talk to Brian when he's back in the office next week and he can follow up. I don't know offhand.
Would this have a separate address or would, I'm just very confused.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay, Mr. Blanky.
we had one of these come before us last year, where the individual was putting an apartment above his garage while he rebuilt his home.
On River Drive?
I believe that was on River Drive, yes.
So he built the garage first?
Yes.
Because I've watched that as I drive by there. I don't think he lived in that, but the odd thing there was he wanted to build that structure first and then the house. I don't
But
think- I don't
there was a
think so.
dwelling unit in the garage. I think that's similar to this,
Okay, I don't know
because
that.
I don't recall what date that one was on.
I'm just curious because
That's- Yeah,
I have a carriage home on my property and sure, like to put an apartment up there. Can I?
I mean, I can think of some people that became part of their house. I can think of somebody that recently had like added their a bedroom above their garage and it was connected, but Mr. Levi.
Question. Mr. Spiegelberg, is it?
Yeah.
Yes, that would be best.
Protocol.
That's okay. Yeah, if
I don't know.
they ask you if you
I'll answer
take some
the
questions, sir. Thank you, sir.
Understand it, you are purchasing this house as a place to stay while you visit your children who are attending Luther Prep, for the most part. And that's right on the campus. I've walked over there and taken a look at it.
Yeah.
Right in a nice location on College Avenue.
Yep.
I wondered though, in the request for 2 bedrooms on the second floor above the garage, are you going to provide toilet facilities in that structure?
Yeah, it would be a dwelling unit. So it's 2 bedrooms, 1 full bath, a kitchen, living room with a
Oh, would have a
walkout deck.
kitchen.
Yeah, I mean, it's 900 square feet. Yeah, but I mean, the purpose for us is, all the way back to my grandparents. We've been in Watertown for 80 years. I graduated from Luther Prep back in 1997. So did my parents and my grandpa and my wife and my kids go there, right? And so I have a couple little ones still at home. So we're going to be there for another 10 years. So instead of coming in and trying to find we're out of state now, come in and have to stay in a hotel, or especially when I have my whole family with us, it's a place that we can stay. So that was the intent. Obviously being right on campus is ideal. We love Watertown. We like to be able to walk to the downtown and enjoy all the amenities. And I know there's just a tremendous shortage of places for families to stay that are out of state as well, including myself. So that was the intent. Have a main house and then have just that little apartment upstairs so we can have a place to stay.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Thank you again, sir.
Yeah,
Yes.
appreciate the time.
Okay.
I mean,
Mr. Blanky?
Make a motion to approve with no conditions.
Okay, motion by Blanky to approve with no conditions.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Lampy. Okay, a second by Lampy. Okay, any discussion then?
My concern, again, with rules that we have in the city is that something like this, again, like I'm pretty familiar with the historic neighborhoods of the city, and I don't know of a single incidence where we have any residential, where we have any residences above garages. Like we have 2-story carriage barns that exist in the city, but to the best of my knowledge, those are not dwelling units. So this would be this would open the door, it would set a precedent to, I think, more property owners coming forward requesting something similar. Is the city inclined to want to have this be something that could become the norm?
Okay, Thank you. Anybody else? Questions, concerns? Mr. Levi?
I guess, after hearing Mr. Spiegelberger, I'm in favor of this, and I think there are other facilities in the city of Watertown where second level on garages are being built. Some of the older houses are too small sometimes, and so with growing families, they'll have to find room. But I guess I did note in some of your presentation, not today, is that you would ultimately, when your children are finished with Luther Prep, sell the house and, or rent it out to other people. We have an ordinance in Watertown here that regulates mostly Airbnb types of situations. Is that what you have in mind, or?
Yeah, so I believe, and you guys maybe can correct me, I think it's for any ADUs, there's a Airbnb restriction. Is there one for the prime residence as well?
I'm not acquainted if there, I know we have the ordinance.
Yeah.
And we don't really have any Airbnbs in town that I'm aware of,
No,
but we
there,
do have some?
there are, and there are some people who operate Airbnbs out of their residences. That's more of a regulatory issue with collecting the room tax that I think the city struggles with. But again, this would be something where, people could say, I'm going to petition the city to build an addition above my garage and create that as income.
Yeah, I know there's Airbnbs because every time we visit with my family of 6, I have to find one.
Oh,
So I
okay.
just, we had graduation 2 weeks ago, so we
Okay.
stayed in one. Yeah. So there definitely are Airbnbs. I mean, our intent is to use that for ourselves and, I don't, I guess, want to limit it to just super strict because I don't have the crystal ball. I like, if my friends want to stay there, I think that would be fine, but our intent then is for us to use that. If there's some, I think Airbnb is considered a short-term rental, right? And then I think you're allowed to have long-term rentals, and I don't know exactly all the rules on it. You guys probably know. But yeah, at some point in the future, if I know they have a lot of instructors at the school as well and professors, because my niece is actually one of them last year, and they have a hard time finding duplexes and places to stay too. So in the future, if there was an opportunity where a young couple could stay there and rent it for a year, I would like that option as well. I don't want to pigeonhole myself into just to having one thing, but I'm obviously going to follow all the regulations and restrictions there. I could look into it.
Would you have any opposition if we included language that said that you'll follow the city's ordinance in that regard?
No,
The short-term rentals.
yeah, no. If there's a restriction on short-term rental for it, I follow all the rules. I wasn't asking for an exception there. I'll find out what the rules are and we'll follow those.
Right.
If you can do a long-term rental, that's fine for me too.
And
And
long-term rentals are fine.
yeah, that's what I understood, but
That's-
yeah. But I think you can do an Airbnb, at least I'm assuming on the primary residence, just because I've rented them.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know, but you guys maybe can answer that.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, yeah. Whatever setbacks and all that kind of stuff, we would definitely follow the rules on.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you again.
Yeah.
Mr. Blanky?
So I understand and share your concern to some degree with setting precedent. We always have to be careful because none of us are here forever. On the other side of that, though, this is a conditional use permit. The point of having that in our ordinance for allowing for this is the exact reason we allow conditional use permits. And that's one of the purposes of this body, to deliberate on a case-by-case basis. So we can make exemptions and allow other uses to properties. And This one might be the first we've seen in front of us. We might see more, but I don't necessarily see an issue with it. And if we do have more, I don't necessarily see an issue with it. As long as we're not, it's not like we're building structures that are too tall, unsafe or anything like that. As long as they're following building codes, have proper egress and following all the procedures we've set in place, I don't really see an issue. And I have no problem with reviewing these on a case by case basis.
Okay, anybody else?
I would have a motion to, or amend your motion to add a condition to the conditional use permit. And that is that the owners would obey the short-term rental ordinance in the city, which I'm looking for right now, the number.
550-56 Y,
550-56
56 Y.
Y, yes, that they would comply with that ordinance as amended.
Okay. So I'll take a roll to make that amendment first, I believe, right?
I can second that.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, Mrs. Lampy. Okay. Any discussion on that? And then we can vote to amend that, I believe. Okay.
I have do we need to have that on there since that's already in the code? We're basically saying, we're putting a condition on the conditional use permit that says you'll follow the city's ordinances.
No, you'll follow that one section about short-term rentals.
Right, but don't they already have to follow that?
You have to follow
Wh-
it,
wh-
but if, I guess right now, I'm not aware of any which properties it would extend to, but, right, it's in the ordinance, it doesn't.
Right, so the ordinance is already there. They have to follow the ordinance already. Adding it as a condition is redundant in my opinion.
Highlights it, yes, highlights it.
You wish to have it highlighted, Mr. Levi?
Uh,
You wish to have that ordinance highlighted?
Right,
Yeah,
but that it's subject to that ordinance, so it's
okay.
very clear.
Okay, let's take a roll for that. To highlight that particular ordinance, it was just, can I read off that number again, Andrew?
It's 550-56 Y.
Okay, no more discussion. We can take a vote on that first. Okay, Levi,
Aye.
Lampy,
Aye.
Blanky? I'll vote yes.
Aye.
Okay. So we'll highlight that ordinance. Any more discussion on the amend ordinance on amend motion? Mrs. Lampy?
Wait, so I have one more thing I want to add, but it's not regarding the amendment. Is
Okay.
this the time to do it or should I wait?
No, this will be because we'll do a final vote soon, or,
Okay.
Yeah.
So the location of this property makes it a little unique in that it bumps right up against the track for Luther Prep. I'm just thinking, in the historic city center, Historic Preservation Commission, we talk a lot about wanting to make sure that neighborhoods stay cohesive and that they maintain their historic fabric. And I know this is a CUP and it's the first time we're looking at it. I just, I'm just kind of thinking of, the more dense residential areas downtown, something like this could become problematic in the future if we get more petitions for it. So I just wanted to state that.
yeah, thank you, Mrs. Lampy, yeah. Okay, any more discussion? Okay, with the amended motion, Blanky, you made the original one, so I'll have you vote first.
Aye.
Yes,
Aye.
okay, passes 5-0. Okay, that's, next, C, public hearing, 861 West Street, request for a conditional use permit for a combination of accessory structures exceeding a total of 1,000 square feet. Wait, sorry. Yeah, it's the correct one, sorry, 861 West Street. 550-56C.
Yeah, there's actually three of them on here for me. I'm just looking to ripped out an old shed and built a new one, pretty much.
Okay, you give me your name and address, please, sir?
Sorry, David Saxby, 861 West Street. I'm the owner of it.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, anything else, sir?
Um. Nah, not really. It's a little bigger than what was on there. It does exceed the height limit for the 15 feet. And as far as I know, I'll be, set back far enough from from the road and far enough out the property line, you shouldn't have an issue with it.
Okay, thank you, sir. I can call you back up if everybody has a question for you, okay? Anybody else want to speak on that public hearing? I'll close that public hearing then. Okay, review and take action. Item D, review and take action 861 West Street, request for conditional use permit for a combination of accessory structures exceeding a total of 1,000 square feet under section 550-56C.
All right, I'll give some background on this one. I think the narrative is written where it includes both CUPs kind of in one write-up. So I'll just go over this first CUP for 1,000, exceeding that 1,000 square foot maximum for accessory structures. So the applicant is seeking approval of two CUPs. This CUP centers around the allowable square footage for accessory structures. The property currently contains an existing 576 square foot garage and two garden sheds of approximately 144 square feet and 63 square feet. The proposed shed, which is about 30 by 50, will be 1,500 square feet. The 63 square foot garden shed is to be removed when the new storage shed is constructed, resulting in a total of 3 accessory structures remaining on the property. The total square footage of the 3 accessory structures after the project is completed will be about 22,220 square feet.
Okay, thank you. Anybody wish to make a motion?
Can I ask a question of staff first?
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Blanky.
In the staff recommendation, it says staff recommends approval of these 3 conditional use permits with conditions.
Yeah.
What are the conditions? Maybe I missed them in the
I don't-
body of the.
I don't think on this one there is a condition. I think on the height CUP, it's the maximum height not to exceed 22 feet. And I think the 3 CUPs in that recommendation should be 2. I think that is an error.
Did you say the ordinance says 15 feet is the maximum?
I believe so, but I think
Then 22 feet is
the proposed,
one right here.
correct. But that's on the next item, the next CUP item, not this particular CUP item. But I believe you're correct.
So the one in front of us right now is simply the exceeding 1,000 square feet for accessory structure, correct?
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, a motion by Blanky. Second by Levi. Okay, any discussion or questions? Mrs. Lampy.
Mr. Blanky will recall this. Not too long ago, we made an exception for an outdoor storage shed over by First Congregational Church, I believe. And we were very particular on the siding materials that were being used. Do we want to put any of the same conditions as part of this? Since this is a large building.
I
Did we-
remember that.
Did we get a second? Oh, Levi did, sorry. We're good, okay.
And because it was backing up to residential,
Mhm.
we were very particular about that.
And
And Mayor McFarland pulled up the image of an existing barn or structure that exceeds heights on County Highway A
Mhm.
going out of town. Andrew, do you recall it?
I know the structure you're referring to.
Yeah, right past South Street.
I'm trying to recall how we worded that condition. It was, because it was something along the lines of materials consistent with surrounding structure, but I don't recall exactly
Right.
how we worded it.
Right.
I'm planning using vinyl, if that helps.
Right, I was looking for your diagram, which I don't think specifies the type of
I thought I specified vinyl on.
vinyl.
Would it be similar color to
White.
the home? Okay. So if we included that as the condition, would that be satisfactory?
Well, I don't know if we even need to. I didn't know if- because that was an issue that we
Yeah.
talked about quite extensively last time, if it would apply here as well. Do you have any feelings on that since you were part of that discussion as well?
I think it's important to be consistent with the neighborhood, but I struggle with how to word that, especially if it's gonna be recited or aesthetically changed over the years.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, Blanky,
Aye.
yes?
Aye.
Mr. Levi,
Aye.
Lampy?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. All right, next, item E, public hearing, 861 West Street, request for conditional use permit for an addition to an accessory dwelling unit exceeding the maximum height of 15 feet for an accessory structure under section 550-83C. Anybody wish to comment on that public hearing?
So it'll be, taller than, I don't, I think it's average size garage or shed. There was a couple built in the area not so long ago, same size.
Okay. Thank you.
I had a question, sir.
Yes.
It's a 30 by 50 square foot structure that you're
Correct.
building.
Yes.
What are you going to be using it for?
Storage, working on my cars, working on my four-wheelers. I like the off-road equipment stuff. Welding, just
Would be
hobbies.
some welding involved?
I weld in my garage now.
Okay.
I just want more room.
Recording in progress.
Support. The development agreement doesn't prohibit a partial dedication, but it doesn't clearly state that it's permissible either. So tonight, the purpose of this item is to seek concept support that the foundation would take back with, kind of prepare that formal request that would come later before this commission once all punch list items for these public improvements were completed, at which point a resolution would be recommended to council, who would act on that resolution to accept these improvements. If there are any questions, I'm happy to, it's a little convoluted, but I'm happy to answer questions as best as I can.
I just hit the audio. I got that message. I just saw it now.
What advantage is there to doing a partial dedication?
Could you repeat that?
Advantage. Excuse me, what advantage is there to doing a partial dedication?
The advantage that I see from a pavement performance perspective is you wouldn't have that heavy construction equipment running over your surface course of asphalt, at least in this phase as the homes are constructed lot by lot. It's the binder course that would take that kind of beating, and then the surface course, once homes are largely constructed, that surface course would go on and be a much better product for the long term.
So the heavy equipment on the binder course doesn't, the beating that the binder course will take doesn't have an impact on the final surface.
We would make sure that there aren't any, cracks or anything that would need base patching. Part of the punch list walkthrough that we're kind of going through as staff right now is pointing out some of those imperfections to address during this piece. But before the surface course would be paved, we want to ensure that we're paving over a good product. If pieces need to be cut out and repatched before that surface course goes down, we can certainly make sure that happens. But construction equipment could cause damage. When it's the surface course being driven over by dump trucks and things like that, you might get marring or more aesthetic imperfections with the surface course.
What is the motion that you'd be looking for?
We'd be looking for concept support of a partial dedication for the Rock River Ridge Phase 1 subdivision.
Have we ever done that before for other developments?
We have, we did a partial dedication for Hep Heights Phase 3 and Grandview Heights Phase 7. Very similar kind of points in construction where binder course was on, surface course wasn't on yet. The purpose there was to make it clear who plowed snow, because it wasn't clear in the development agreements who plowed snow, and it was December. So that was kind of the purpose there, but similar points in construction.
Andrew, were those the ones that then came in front of us for final approval after they were paved? I think it was sometime last year.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
For the finals.
okay, so now the hamster's getting back on the wheel. Now I kind of see the point of this. So who does this go to then? Will it go into the developer agreement? Or,
It goes back to the city to meet with the representatives of the foundation out there and formulate a amendment to the development agreement. And then that would be forwarded back to us. And then if we passed it, then it would go on to finance committee, and I think common council approval.
In speaking with our city attorney, he seemed confident that the resolution would itself amend that development agreement as long as the conditions are clearly stated on what is being supported there. So I can confirm with our city attorney, but I don't think an amendment to the development agreement will be needed to move this one forward. It would just be putting those conditions in the resolution. And I think, Mason, you were
Addendum or something.
correct. Mason, is that your recollection as well when we met?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're still operating under the parameters of the development agreement. And again, the development agreement doesn't prohibit this partial reimbursement or partial dedication. And yes, my understanding, Andrew, was that would be the qualifications would be met in that resolution.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
So we'd be looking to direct the developer either way. I mean, if this concept isn't supported tonight, the developer would really have some options on either paving before homes and the lots are built out, so they could seek reimbursement. Otherwise, they'd be looking to hold off on that step until lots are built out, probably next spring, I would guess, for a surface course construction.
I think that this makes sense in the fact that if we put the final coat on and then it gets beat up and damaged, then it's the city who's gonna be repairing that anyway. Whereas if the binder coat gets beat up and damaged, it's gonna be a lot more cost effective to then put the final coat over that, correct?
Correct, and you wouldn't have a patch in a brand new street.
Yeah, right. So you're looking for a motion to,
Right. The only thing, I'd make a motion.
Okay, motion by,
that, Make a motion that the plan commission approve the concept of a partial public infrastructure dedication to allow the developer to move forward with formal submittal and reimbursement steps.
okay, got a motion by Levi,
a second.
second by Blanky. Any more discussion on that? Okay, Mr. Levi?
I guess, I think
I'm sorry,
it's
oh,
noteworthy that we can get the parties in cooperation to determine when they put the final coat on. And it's always the case that if you don't put the binder on first and let it sit for 6 months, it's not going to be solid underneath. So it saves money on behalf of the city and both with the developer.
okay, thank you. Okay, we can take a vote then if, okay, we'll take a vote now. Mr. Levi, you wanna go first?
Pardon?
We'll vote now, sir, yeah.
I will die.
Okay, yes.
Aye.
Blanky?
Aye.
Yes for me?
Abstain.
Okay, passes 4-0. Okay.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Mr. Becker. All right, I believe that, I'm double checking, things went out of order tonight. Next to adjournment, I believe.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Lampy, second by Byer. I was gonna second that one.
Aye.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you. Typically finance is at 5:30. Luckily,